perfect layout
by showing
because
you
you
guys
have
how
the
we
huge
did this.
space in the middle.
So
Whoa,
here you
okay,
can
that
see
looks
from the
totally different.
perspective of the attackers, of course,
That
you got the
looks
three
totally
objectives, A, B,
different.
and C. You got
In the
your main
middle,
lane
and
down
what
the
is this on the
middle,
right
as is
side?
customary, and A and C on the sides. So a lot of adjustments had to be made for this map to flow well. Not just like putting the objectives
Okay,
in,
the rotations are
making
long.
enough breathing room in between the run times and fighting spaces to feel adequate for Dominion. So let's start off by looking at the.
So there's no
lanes.
direct
Of
path
course, we have always had this beautiful ram
to the side points,
totem,
it seems.
and that was kind of like a landmark of the map, but it had to go to make it kind of like the tree in Viking Village. Another, I don't know what's gonna happen here. Justice for the ram totem. So yeah, the minions needed somewhere to fight and do their thing at the main lane. So it was one of the first things.
It's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the space worked very well. And as you can see, we opened also the southern side of it. We had a staircase ramp that would connect to the objective C. So yeah, looking at capture point A, we had this kind of awesome little Viking thing, but there wasn't much going on there, so we completely revamped it here. It's turned into like this little fort. Again, this is a Viking map, but we overlaid it with pirate thematics. So this is where they would like store their treasures, their loot, their bounty, all that good stuff, and where they do their pirate things there. So yeah, this was quite a revamp for the point as well, and even during development, it went.
I mean,
quite a few,
it sounds weird, but it looks good because I see no cheese in this game.
Another key point I'd like to address here.
Whoa, what is this?
We added this drop down that gives straight access to the main lane.
To the main lane.
So two reasons why we did this is it makes rotations a lot
more this theory,
easier.
That point is the most important point on the map because of this super short rotation.
And you have that line of sight on people who are coming.
Exactly.
The other thing we did,
it is basically
shifting the drop to the side, is that I
you can use arrow storms on it. Oh, yeah. From that location to the mid lane.
As they're coming towards the point, that would
so
before they even get on the point.
Yeah.
This healing point has top priority.
Really well. It does, you have
Ob das Damage macht? I actually don't think so.
So you do take a little minuscule amount of damage.
Oh, come on!
Much.
Come on!
So
come on!
Moving on to capture point C, this useless dock,
come on.
which wasn't much good for anything. So we turned that into the remnants of this.
To be honest, I think Ubisoft can change the threshold
and it even tells its own
of taking damage from jumping down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
like I hate it when you lose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someone correct me. I think that's called a bow.
If you lose like 10
yeah,
health,
awesome,
it bothers me.
Emblem.
They should just change the threshold.
So yeah, really
Please.
thematic. We went all out with sprinkling the pirate theme over the map. Here
But
cool
from a visual standpoint,
Raph
I like it.
Earlier, how it changes,
oh wow!
Good
job, Yui.
Yeah. I always enjoy, even after the fact, after we've worked on it for so long, and looking at it in video form, and just be like
this is what Ubisoft gets right, in my opinion. Like on all maps, you have always 3 different themes, like winter, summer, night,
from the pirates, and
daylight, whatever.
They're ready. Yeah, they're all happy. They got the treasure. Bam. Yeah, this was some really cool work done by our animation team for this. And from the the defender side, you see their perspective. They're looking.
No surrender.
And they have the high ground, as you might say. And
Noch mehr
and they're ready
cinematics.
to
I
attack.
don't mind cinematics if they are not too
So right
long.
here.
Like this is okay.
So yeah,
This is
that
okay.
was a look at kind of
okay.
Dominion as a whole. again, shout out to the art team, modelers, VFX.
Yeah, good job. I like the map.
Audio, QC, of course, who, you know, without them,
Not possible.
complain as much as you want about bugs, but there'd be a lot more if they weren't around.
100%.
So I'm always, you know, I'm always on the lookout. I'm always watching streams. I'm always looking to improve the maps. So I think here so this is the season of duels, right? As might have been mentioned. So of course we had to update duels on this map, and for the better, of course.
Oh, it's
we
the ring.
The new Dominion objective zones, and so now you see here, this is the main lane area in Dominion. So we turned that. Actually, this was similar to what was already in Dominion, in Duel, but without the ram totem that was mentioned before. There was a bit of stalling. You could run around it. So this is
Yeah,
a
I
lot
like that.
cleaner.
I like this rework. Yeah.
Yeah. Here at capture point C, now we place
Ah!
the duel location over the capture point. So this is only accessible in Duel. Don't worry, we put some railings on that bridge.
Okay, what was I about to say? No cheese, but I see a spike wall. I see a spike wall over there.
And you'll have to mind your positioning.
And the ledge, of course.
So I always enjoy doing specific duel locations.
Oh.
And now coming back to the
Oh.
boat, here in
Oh,
Duel,
that's a cute.
we're
Whoa.
on the back side of it. So the part that was split off
Yo,
during some
that's cool.
battle.
But
that
we
took
don't
place
have this
on
in
boat.
Dominion, man.
And this is really, again, unique to Duel. And we have that shark that's roaming around. That was a really cool touch. I really enjoyed that. And we also have this, you're splashing around in the
Yeah,
water
I like the
here.
water splash.
Stay tuned. Mathieu is going to be talking to you guys more about that. There's some really new water tech that we got in.
Water tech.
So moving on to Brawl. So this was actually the third time we're
Looks
updating
like-
Brawl in this map. This was launch.
I think that's the first map
yeah.
I actually played on.
Yeah. So that was launch. Then we ended up moving it here to the closer to the cemetery section of it, and it was better, but now it's even better. So now we moved it to the main lane area, and you get this real 2v2.
Focus
portion of
mainly
the
on
map.
the combat, I guess. That's
Yeah,
the main thing.
yeah.
There's no other factors.
Something to look out though, you could see the color gradients change from when we launched there before the art. I think it was during
Counter
March of
GB.
Fire that we updated, and how it looks like now in the same Ashfeld sunny location.
Yeah.
So actually, little bit of info there. The first time I changed Brawl on this map was my first appearance on Warriors Den.
Full circle.
About 9 years ago, 8 years ago. I
Wow.
suppose. So yeah, I was so nervous back then. And but yeah, I'm probably dating myself.
There's also
Yeah.
it's like some of the flowers I think that we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, so the VFX team did a really cool job here. This little detail of they sprinkled these flower all over the grassy fields, and as you run through them, you see them. You can see there they kind of wisp off into the air.
They're reactive.
Yeah. So again, the VFX.
That's a nice
had
touch.
some fun on this map. The whole map really, it's one of my favorite maps that we've converted so far, and I'm really proud of the whole team for the work that they've done here.
Looks great.
Yep.
This is awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and breaking
My
that
pleasure.
down. Folks, stay tuned. We're gonna do a deep dive into some quality of life improvements next with Mathieu. You're not gonna want to miss that. It's really cool. But first, we're gonna have a look at the Canyon map beauty video, where you're gonna see everything, and then we're gonna look at the Legacy Pass weapon.
So,
Stick around.
let's check out the new map in detail. This Asian streamer doesn't reply all viewers. So, what? Okay. So, yeah, I think that's the most important point over there.
it's a male pirate. So lots of work went into that with audio as well.
Yeah, a big shout out to audio. It is a male pirate. This means that a lot of the lines had to be remade, a lot of the onos, barks, everything. And he speaks a different language. He speaks Irish Gaelic. So it means that we had to
Irish
rewrite the lines, we had
Gaelic.
to have them translated, localized, and all of
Okay,
this is
bro, what's
there.
up?
So it's a
Yeah.
a special skin, one that is very, very special in our cold hearts.
Very much so. And yeah, so his beard does have embers in it. It's smoking. He has all this glittering gold, it's covered in barnacles. And it's
Unofficially known as Captain Barnacles.
Love it. Looks so good. He's so epic.
He is.
Really.
He's larger than life.
Here to talk about testing grounds right now, and I will be honest,
So-
I am super stoked for this one. This is like one I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Oh,
and yeah, so why don't we
Yeah.
dive right
Congra?
into it? Can you tell us what we're looking at?
Yes, so
Defensive
as the beautiful
dodge
slide says,
changes?
Defensive dodge changes.
What?
So you remember last time when I was talking about how the next testing grounds wasn't going to be feats?
Block on dodge is back?
This ain't feet.
It doesn't
Question
mean that
mark?
we're abandoning feats right away. It's just that we want to make sure that we can collate a bit more together so that we have like more feats to do in the same testing grounds.
Mhm.
It's always a bit more complex to do feats. So we're trying to do like a more of a system testing grounds this time to address two major things, right? One of them is viability and defense at top level. It does affect lower level players as well, but it's really a fix that I know a player that seemingly retired but was asking me quite often the last time we saw him. And also something to give a bit more identity to assassins.
Nice.
So here we go.
Right.
Part
All
one
non-assistants here.
is I'll just read the slide and I'll explain the implications here, right? So all non-assassin heroes now have block active from 100 to 300 MS.
Block is
while
active
dodging,
in the
and
direction
the
of
block
the dodge.
is active in the
That's good.
direction of the dodge.
That's
So
good.
what does
You
this mean,
avoid
right? At super
lot of
high
cheese.
level, there's a tendency for players to have a very specific situation happen where one player throws a bash and another throws
was
a
this by
neutral
back dodges?
undodgeable
good
at
question.
basically the same time. And when this happens, undodgeable, but you must dodge.
Mm.
So what happens? You get hit by something every single time. And so when we removed a block on dodge a while ago, we removed it because undodgeables we had some issues with them. We were forced to always make them top, and then it always feels a little bit weird. So if we want to have like undodgeable on only one side, for example, we couldn't really do it. So it opened up the design space, but also created this issue. So this is an attempt to help resolve this issue. So you have block at the same timing as deflect. It doesn't mean that you're deflecting, and it's still not as effective as it was before.
Yeah, I mean, you
when
cannot
were
do
fully
it
block
on.
active for the entire duration.
I mean,
So that's one thing there. Also, this is forcing the block in the direction of the dodge. So if you're dodging front, it'll always block top. If you're dodging to the right, to the left, it'll always block in that direction. So it's really like, it's a bit of a change. We had to change almost every hero there to make sure everything was kind of fitting here. This will let you dodge into undodgeables if you know kind of the direction it's going to come, because you'll be able to kind of block it. So that's the idea here, right? So it's really to help that very, very specific situation. We did not want to have the block on the entire dodge. That created other issues.
yeah.
But having it at deflect timing here really
I think
helps
that's
for
that's
those
fair.
heroes, and it should give a bit more survivability when you're outnumbered and you're facing players that are able to kind of time themselves really well at throwing an attack that must be dodged and an attack that cannot be dodged at about the same time.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's the big idea here. So I'll
For
be curious to
example,
hear specifically from pros
gank,
here, but also from everybody. But really, I know
like Shigoki gang doesn't work
Normie
anymore.
specifically, I remember last time we had when we were in the
Unless
studio, he was asking me
If
about this.
Nobushi throws the top heavy,
Pretty
but most of the
consistent
time he
basis.
just throws the top heavy.
So it's not necessarily for Normie, but it's for all the players that I know are having issues with this.
But Normie should appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then
But they,
next up
you know,
for Assassin.
All assassin heroes now
all
have
assassin
deflect
heroes
active
have
in all.
deflect active in all three stances while dodging forward. So you
What?
might remember.
All
the
assassin
each
heroes now have
position
deflect active in all three stances while dodging
Bleeding last
forward.
year, right? And so what we had is her third feat had deflect active on all three stances, whether she was dodging front, left, or right.
What?
that was a bit too strong, specifically for the side dodge. It's it basically lets you nullify a bunch of mix-ups completely.
Yeah.
We didn't really want that. There was always ways for the attacker to do something, but it was a bit too complicated, and it kind of forced us to play like a wildly different way, and it wasn't super well received. So we're like, okay, cool. But on the front part, it made a lot of sense.
Right.
And we've had Katoon release recently that has a similar-ish thing, but it's active for the entire duration of a run. But it feels good to have like those kind of.
Good thing is this is only on testing grounds.
Now in this testing ground,
man.
every single assassin in the game, and that includes Shaolin, because Shaolin is a hybrid assassin. That had reflex guard beforehand, so it applies. He has deflect, so it applies to this. If you front dodge, you are able to deflect in any direction. So that's kind of cool, because then it gives you an opportunity to go, you know what? I'm facing, I don't know, like a York, right? And I know that they're going to do an undodgeable light finisher. And maybe I don't have the reactions, or maybe there's too much input lag, or maybe it's an off day or something. And I'm like, I know the undodgeable is coming. Like, I can read it. I can read the person's mind. I can read his mind. But I still won't be able to block.
Yeah.
This is for you.
Nice.
You front dodge into it. You don't have you don't have iframes. There's none of these things that are happening in front dodging. So it lets you do really, really cool
obviously
things about
easy to bait.
nullifying some of your opponent's offense in this way. But it's a super hard read, because if you front dodge and he didn't throw an undodgeable light, or he didn't throw what you were expecting, Heavy's going to hit you. A bunch of things are able to hit you. So it's a big, big read that can lead to super cool moments. And speaking of those moments, we have a couple of videos that kind of showcase what you can do with this, which is like kind of side effects of it, but are super interesting. So Max, if you want to start playing it. So this is what we were talking about with the block, the dodging the block direction, the blocking the dodge direction, right? So you see Warden there, like always kind of switches his stance to left, right, or top whenever he dodges, so that's a good one. And then now this is what's more interesting, right? So the Shinobi here is dodging front into Zanhu's zone attack, and boop, you deflected it. So again, that's one thing that's really interesting. That's like that's the basic case of I'm front dodging into an undodgeable.
Yeah.
But what else can this tech do for assassins? You can have an opponent throw an attack at you while you are locked onto somebody else, front dodge, and deflect their attack.
Right? I mean, you could do this with a side
moments. Like, this is amazing.
But this is way easier now.
To pull off in game.
Yeah.
Super, super cool.
This is now way easier, of course, obviously.
Well, which was like a big part of our intention here is.
All right, you can do it. Really, you can deal with unlocks, right?
All right. They're not locked onto, right? So this JJ right now, for example, is throwing a left side heavy, but the Orochi here is able to dodge into it because the deflect is active on all three stances, is able to deflect that heavy and punish the Jangjung for what they're doing. So it gives assassins a lot more things they can do.
I think
in group fights, when they're outnumbered, when they're outnumbering people, and it enhances their identity as deflect masters. So this is what we're going on with this. Hopefully people are gonna like it. Give us all of your comments. Anything you want to talk about there.
Assassins usually don't have
really
a tool usually
how dynamic assassins feel
to deal with unlocked
and also on the non-assassin side, that extra bit of defense can mean life or death in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're putting this into a
but it's just too much.
And so you might be wondering,
I mean, we will see. Assassins are
these are like
not a main pick in competitive plays right now, except for Orochi and Berserker in the past when he was giga broken with his stat recovery. But with the last nerf, he basically died out.
Make sure that it doesn't feel.
But in 1v1, yeah, exactly. This is the only thing that
we have.
I have a problem.
We're thinking about
like in 1v1, it feels super strong.
Maybe this is going to be too annoying. Maybe this is going to be too strong.
In this case,
in the testing grounds, we want to get as much feedback.
In this case,
from our players,
I don't want to say it.
You know what?
I don't want to say it.
We're going in.
But maybe they have to reduce the damage of deflect.
That's what it is for testing rounds. What's cool here too is that there's
like if they make it on par,
if you're an assassin, you get that full deflect when you front dodge. If you're not
with a light attack, then it's okay. But right now, deflects are on the level of a heavy attack.
It's a really, really packed testing grounds with a lot of stuff. Everyone, every single hero. That is great. Please go in, test it out, try it out, give us your feedback.
So
Yeah,
Hatun
and
is
I'll
no
be
longer
happy
unique.
to be on Reddit.
Yeah,
so much again.
right.
People love it.
I know we can't stop you. You're gonna be
You
there.
can't stop me.
It's fine. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, JC, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I'm super stoked about this. I know we play internally. We've tested it quite a bit, so I'm really looking forward to it too. So we hope that folks
So the thing
like you
is,
out there are also
they
looking
can't do
forward to it.
this.
Reminder that
Like I said,
this testing grounds will be live starting
Assassins
next week on
struggle
June
really
19th
with
and run through
massive,
June
yeah,
26th.
with
So
unlock
don't
spam.
miss out. Again, jump in, play
And
with
they are not
any hero.
really,
Everybody has a change, and then don't forget to leave
Like
us
right
feedback.
now,
There'll be a survey
thanks
at
to
the
the
end, as
dodge
we normally
recovery
do.
nerfs,
So
a lot of
just keep an eye
assassins
out on
are
our socials
just
for that.
meh.
So
That's okay.
thank you very much. Next up, JC, you're not going far because
I'm staying here.
That's
I've been summoned, so now I gotta
I've
stay.
been summoned. That's right.
That's the
That's
problem.
good.
So
well,
I think
summoned
it's an interesting
it's
idea,
good. Well, see, there you go, folks. You
but
you
if
got him. He's here
they
to stay
implement
now.
it, they have
But
to
we're
keep
gonna be
an eye
talking
on it.
about the upcoming competitive circuit, so that
Like,
should be a lot of fun.
risk
So,
reward.
folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Risk reward wise, of course. For example, they can do something like this. They can do something like this. Ubisoft, listen very well. You can perform a regular deflag with the old damage. Alright? But, like, for example, if you throw a right attack, you deflect it by dodging the right side. But you can also do the lazy deflag. That's a forward dodge. And if you perform that one, the damage should be
Alright,
reduced.
Welcome back, Warriors.
So we want to look at the first one?
I do, yeah.
All right, let's have a look.
All right.
Stamina improvements. Oh no! There's no more stamina drain or stamina
The following
pause
attacks
on
are not
pretty much
affected.
every single attack
Wait,
except
remove
throws
stamina train on stamina
and
pause from
dungeons.
most
Right.
attacks.
So,
The following attacks
something
are
that's
not
been
affected. Throws?
super highly requested for a long time. It was a long time coming, to be honest.
yeah.
And surprisingly,
What also on
people often like just go, there's like,
Centurion?
you know, like Prior's bash and like Warden's shoulder bash that do stamina damage. There was a lot of attacks that does.
There
stamina
were.
damage.
That list was big.
It's not all of them
Centurion,
did a
Black
stamina
Briar,
pause. It's not
also
always. It wasn't
Warlock.
always obvious. Now it's just completely gone, except for throws. Because again, we do want you to be able to like throw somebody and then you get a stamina.
wow, huge
Flashes.
tutorial
And
nerf,
also
guys.
for Janjung's parry punish, which is just
What is the
the only thing
point
it does.
of clapping
It
someone
used
now?
to deal one
Th-
damage.
3
with
times
a
in the
little
face.
slap, but we removed it for a lot of different reasons. But still, right now, all the stamina drain except for those two things is completely gone.
Nice.
What about
Can't see
Centurion,
chat,
guys?
I'm sure some people are happy.
Yeah.
So that's slide number 1.
All right.
Let's go to slide number 2.
There's a second?
There's a second slide.
Oh, man. All right.
I like this because there's like 3 lines or 4 lines.
Yeah.
But then it's
That's a
a
big
ton of changes.
I
So
know,
that's
we
good.
could've
5
listed
damage
that
with
all out.
feats?
Yeah.
Ketun. So this is what I alluded
Can now
to earlier.
perform
Right.
for
Right.
kick
So
after
Ketun
successful
right now is
deflect.
not necessarily massively underperforming. Our numbers are a little bit low, but as we mentioned during the competitive tournament, like the segment there are some players that are extremely good with her. I'm not gonna name
Restless
drop, but
Peace
can go watch
recovery
some
on
footage
hit is now
and you see them playing with Ketun really
Restless
well.
Peace.
She's a hero that is really difficult to play effectively. So we're trying to address 3 major problems that the hero has. First is that you can now perform Frightful Kick after a successful deflect.
Nice.
So, you know how it kind of felt bad when you're deflecting a raider, and then
Or
just
Berserker.
or berserker or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you just throw a heavy, and then you armor doesn't do anything. Well, now you have an option.
Nice.
Something you can do.
kick.
It'll lead to less damage, right? The Frightful Kick does just still it guarantees a light finisher. You can go back into your run afterwards or whatever. But the idea here is we wanted to give her a different option on deflect rather than making her attack just break armor. Because breaking the armor is one thing. We have it on Orochi, we have it on some heroes. But it's not necessarily always the best thing to do. It can lead to other issues. In this case as well, because it's an attack that is used at a bunch of different places, we didn't want to create the expectation of this version, because we already have the this like different versions are at different speeds. You want to add on top of it, well, this one breaks armor, but this one doesn't, and this one doesn't, and this one doesn't. So at this point, it wasn't really worth it. And it's a lot better to just add a bash there. It makes a lot of sense. Slightly lower punish, but still works quite well. The next two changes are concerning her follow-ups after when she does her pin attack, right? So Ultimate Authority and Restless Peace, they're both 100 ms faster on recovery. What this means is that Ultimate Authority is now frame positive. So you have an advantage of 100 ms after you use it. And then Restless Peace, you're back to neutral instead of being negative. Okay. So you lose less momentum when using them, especially for Ultimate Authority, where if you end up hitting a light afterwards and your opponent might mash his light, you will beat them. So it creates these sort of situations where the hero is in a bit less, you're still going to neutral, but you're being less penalized for going to neutral. Now these two changes, they're interesting. If we find, after looking at the data and after Dessa said a little bit more, that they're not enough, we'll look at the hero again. Okay. Like I said, she's really potent in the right hands, but looking at the data, her win rate is a little bit lower than what we would have liked. So we're trying to adjust things upwards a little bit.
I mean, the problem with her
we don't want to
is
release a hero that's
this is what JC exactly means.
Some aspects in the being,
she is so hard to play.
So we kind of balance, but
people have to play her for 1, 2, maybe 3 reps to figure out how to play her properly. And this is why most people have a
Pirate, right? So some people call that, we're not going to
parry windows now.
We're actually not nerfing Pirate, because Pirate does not need further nerfs. She actually needs a little bit of buffs. A little bit. But this
parry
is a really
windows starts
interesting
at the
buff
same timing, but ends
really different. It's the first time we're trying this. And it's something that I'm hoping is going to work, because if it does work, it's something we can apply to other heroes, right? So Pirate's main issue right now, especially in ones, because this is not really something that will affect fours much, but really ones, is that Cavalier Dance, which is her front dodge heavy, and Walk the Plank, which is like her pin attack that she can do when you're in chains, are a little bit too reactable for top level players.
Right.
And so what we've noticed is that they react to the animation. It's not really parry flash. There's been a lot of studies that were done. We had like some stuff happening.
Some animations are relatively easy
are people
to
able to
react. For
to parry
example,
flash? And the
Shugoki.
answer is no. But
For example, Shugoki and Hitokiri, they draw the weapon
were a
further
little bit
behind
too
them,
easy to react
and you can react
for
to
some
these
players.
animations.
But when
So
they
also-
react to it, they react to them late. And when you react late, you parry late, often on the last frame. So we're shaving off that last frame where you can parry. So instead of having the parry window being 200 milliseconds, it's 166 for both of these attacks, which will make them a little bit harder to parry, but hopefully will make it so that they truly become unreactable. Even
I mean,
at
what
top
do
level
you
of
what
play,
do you
because
think,
then
guys?
even if you look at
Should
the animation,
all
by the time
unblockables
your
be
brain processes the
unreactable?
information and you press heavy
And
to parry, it would have landed on that
just a
front
matter
frame,
of
and then
reads?
you would not you won't be able to parry. So these are like small, very small, very targeted buffs.
Like, this is why Pirate
If this, like I said, if this ends up working out, I can see this working
Kinda sucks
on Glad's Cure, for
in
example,
1v1.
right? Where there is
But
the
it really
animation is a
depends,
little bit too easy to tell.
against
So
who you're
if
playing
you
with.
shave off that one frame on
Like, when I
Pirate,
play
does all of a
Pirate,
sudden
I
does
always
no,
have to
no,
play
on
against
Gladiator,
Sweats,
does
and they
Cure
just
all
react
of
to
a
my
sudden become
all
viable,
unblockables,
right?
and I
So
always,
it's these
I
things that we're
always
trying
think
to
like,
experiment and look a little
what am I
bit
supposed to
further.
do now?
This is a first step. We'll see if that works out or not. But I think it's a very interesting thing to try out. See that this happens.
Without
Because the
reaction,
other
it's hard to
option for
separate
these
skill
was to
other than
redo
read.
the animations entirely.
Yeah.
And then, so we
Jeder,
go
der
back to
sagt,
the
es
cap,
soll unreactable sein, der ist
we
einfach
shoot
zu
the
lahm.
animations, the animations and, like, reintegrate them, we try them out, and we always run the risk of, you know what, it's still reactable, right? It's very difficult to have
This is
the
a bro. Yeah,
skill
totally
level
fine. It
and
can't
the
stay like that.
perception
But some
needed
some
for
attacks
players
are
to be able
relative
to
reactable,
react to
even
things.
for me,
And depending on the player, it's different.
the old man.
So it's not something that we can universally just go, hey, we'll just reshoot and it'll be fine. So again, this is like the best solution for this, hopefully, and we'll see where that lands.
Nice. Awesome.
There's more slides.
For example,
man.
I'm
Hitokiri
gonna
is
keep this
so
going 'cause,
easy,
there's more slides.
so easy to
People
react
keep
to.
saying that there's only going to be one slide. Well, there's more than one slide
The
now.
side unblockable.
Shaolin.
Sun sweep.
So
No longer chains
nerf
on
to
this.
Shaolin.
Yeah,
Asking for
okay.
this for a while. Sun sweep, so it no longer chains on.
Miss
face.
recovery is now 600,
This was
down
a big
from.
thing. Players like, understandably, like it's frustrating and difficult when you get to that point where Sun Sweep like unbalances you, you get a follow up, and then when you read it correctly and you dodge it, you
Unreactive
still like
casual
you
player
have to do a
was
dodge
not
attack
impossible.
because if you do a dodge guard break, it doesn't work. The thing is, that was always our intent to have Sun Sweep be punishable by a dodge attack.
I mean,
specifically,
casual
and not a
players, they
dodge
don't
guard
react.
break,
They just go for
because it's
reads.
really deep into Shaolin.
So I think this
Right.
You have
won't
to go
change
into key
anything
stance.
for casual
then,
players.
then an attack in key stance, then go into Sun Sweep. So because of this, we also lowered the recovery
Also,
of Sun Sweep. by
Radar is
2
also
less.
very...
So when it's at
on some
600,
heroes, it's
you cannot get a
relatively
guaranteed
easy
guard
to
break. You
read.
can dodge and
Like
guard break into
JC
it,
said,
but
you just
Shaolin
go
will be
for
able to
the
take it. So do dodge
last,
attacks
for
against
the
this
super
move.
late parry.
It's deep.
You
We'll see also if
like,
this change
this is
enough.
when you really
if it-
just try
if
hard
it
and
impacts
sweat,
Shaolin
you
enough there.
always try
Shaolin
to
is
parry
really
on
high
the
in
last
kill list,
frame.
really high in like a lot of different things. So and I know it's an especially strong pain points for a lot of players. So we're starting
Does
with
this
this,
guarantee a GB?
seeing
No,
how it
because the
lands up,
recovery
and
is
then
not
we'll see
600.
if we need to adjust further. But honestly, I think this is a pretty good change. It's not a huge nerf to Shaolin, but it'll help players like get the upper hand back a little bit.
Awesome. All right.
Another slide.
Shigori, all versions no longer chain on miss.
So we're also nerfing Shigoki.
Oh, that's a
long
huge
time ago,
no.
We
Wow.
added that the front dodge headbutt was 15
Wow, that's a huge
And
nerf,
so,
bro.
Like, yeah, okay, it's cool. You know, it
Yeah,
gives
usually,
Shigoki
as a
better
Shigoki,
options or whatever.
it's so
The problem
safe
that-
to
that-
throw a headbutt
that kept
on chains.
creeping up over
Because
is that it
it
makes
doesn't
Shigoki
matter, man.
far too
if he
safe.
goes with a
Unless
dodge
you have a
attack,
dodge
you chain
bash,
into a heavy attack.
Shigoki can just front dodge headbutt or even headbutt in chains, and then use side dodge attack, and you just, I don't care. I'm going to charge my heavy finisher.
Yeah.
And then can punish you for your dodge attack. The problem here is that there's 2 ways to fix this. Either what we did, so you
This is
can't
a
chain off,
huge nerf, guys.
or
Holy
change
crap, guys.
the timing at which the armor kicks in on the heavy finisher. The problem is that if you change the timing of that armor, it has to be pushed back way too much.
Like the only way
for
to
every single dodge
reliably,
attack to
to
land,
punish
so that
Shigoki
otherwise
in a
you can't
reliable
just
way
grid
is
exceptions
to have
and,
a
you know,
dodge
my
bash.
hero is just weak against Shigoki for reasons.
Like this is
But then
why I
when that
like
ends
to
up
play
being
Warden
super
against
late,
Shigoki
then
because you
Shigoki
punish his
loses too much
stamina, you
effectiveness in group
stop his
fights because then
momentum.
you can't ever really use his heavy finishers.
Right.
So we've opted for removing the ability to chain off of those headbutts to not affect.
And also on top
the
of that,
heavy
yeah, team
finishers
fights are
too much.
so
But we
oppressive.
also lowered
Like
the miss
even
recoveries from the
Shigoki
front
goes
dodge
into
position
chain, you
so that
bash
you
someone,
can't get
he
a guard break
dodges.
off. So
Doesn't
really,
matter.
like, at 700 MS,
You
have to
commit
dodge
your
attack
heavy.
it,
You
but
and you
can't just do
suppress
dodge into guard break and you always
everyone
win.
around you, and
So
with
that's kind
a
of
little
the big
bit of luck,
idea
you
here for
also
Shigoki to change the hero a little bit,
punish your
nerf him
main
enough that
target with
it'll
a heavy.
it'll have an effect,
But with,
but also
that
not
nerf,
affect too much what the
oh,
hero can do otherwise. Because again, we
jeez.
want Shigoki to be able to use his heavy finishers, and if the armor kicks in too late, they're just not usable at all. You'll get peeled constantly.
Right.
So it's better to sometimes throw a light that's enhanced, go into your heavy finishers, maybe do your headbutt when you're outnumbered or when you can risk getting peeled to be able to get better into that kind of position.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
And then another
Light
slide.
finishers no longer untouchable. Damage is now 14, down from 16.
Uh,
What?
Slight nerfs to Kyoshin again. So light finishers are no longer undodgeable, and we've also lowered the damage to 14, down from 16. So the undodgeable part here is interesting. Heavy finishers are still undodgeable.
Yeah.
So when we were looking at Kyoshin to go, what kind of adjustments could we do to Kyoshin? This one came up because like, does the hero need to have 2 undodgeables in his kit?
Right.
The answer is no. Right. We put it initially to have a bit of parity there and to make like something a bit more interesting, but then it ended up being too
I
much.
think yes, as a
And then
Kyoshin
when we
mate,
decided,
you need.
do we remove the light
It's so nice to have the.
and it's
undodgeable
generally
light.
better to remove light undodgeables. Again, for what I mentioned a little bit earlier, right? Where if you're a bit off, or you're on like PS4 on a TV that's not on game mode, on like a third-party
I
controller.
can
that has a
explain you
ton of
why
input
it's
lag,
so good to have
it's
a light
super hard to
undodgeable.
block lights and chains. We
Yeah.
get it. We completely understand it. So being able to dodge them is important. They're still able to be dodged and everything, so that's okay.
What?
But the idea here is that because that undodgeable there becomes a double read of I know undodgeable is coming, but then I have to guess also in which direction it's coming. Doesn't make a ton of sense. So because of this, it's better to remove undodgeable there, because if it's an undodgeable heavy, even on those
Most
really
people-
the worst conditions ever,
Yeah.
you have the
Most
time to
people
see this
use
swing,
after
and you can block.
a chain starter, bash,
It kind of
or
works out
heavy.
that way. you'll get more
But
damage also,
sometimes
so
it is
finish off
smarter
that
to
work.
throw
It
the
discourages-
light
It
attack
discourages light spam
because
as well, but it's always
people
kinda good to have.
don't
And
expect
the
the
damage
light
was also a little bit too high, so we
attack
toned
at
it down
all
to what
because
is more normal.
most people are just fixated to
sense.
parry the heavy
All right, and then
or dodge the bash.
one.
Oh yeah! Oh!
Oh,
Right.
a
So
big
there
one.
was more than one slide. There was a bunch of slides. We had a few.
Oh!
This slide is pretty packed, but essentially for Shaman, we've adjusted
Oh!
and improved the weapon trajectory.
Jesus!
So they
They
match
did
the
it!
visuals better on the
They
throwing
did
attacks.
it!
There's a massive list. It's almost every single one of them.
almost our whole kit. Yeah.
So
Yes,
this
guys!
is really interesting because first of all, like Shaman had a hard time in group fights because she had no reach. Everything was super stubby. So we started working on this quite a while ago, actually. And what we discovered, because Shaman is a year one DLC hero, like a year one that's 9 years ago.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
back then, our animation team were sometimes doing things that looked amazing, where if you're moving left or moving right or moving front or standing still when you're throwing attacks, you got different animations coming out because it looked better.
Right.
So this is super cool, but it brings a problem where, well, the attack data, which is separate from the animation data, right? That's why we can have like trajectories and adjust them and everything. It doesn't necessarily it doesn't have to match 100% the weapon. It's not the weapon that's hitting you. It's an actual trajectory that we set. Like it's a hitbox in traditional fighting games. And so, but it makes it different because if you're walking left, for example, and you're throwing an attack, then the timing of the trajectory of the hitbox might be, and actually was different than when you're walking right or walking front or staying neutral. So even though we kind of picked one and went, okay, well then this is the right data.
Shaman's gonna be picked a lot more.
But
Yeah,
then you were walking
exactly.
left or right, and it like
She
didn't
deserves
match at
it.
all. It created like crazy
Like-
phantom hits and all sorts of things. So we had to work
She
with
is.
the animation team, and
I don't want to
I
say it,
wanna
but
give,
that's how
like,
it
a
is.
major,
On higher
major
levels,
big
she's a
shout out and thanks to
liability,
Noel that
guys,
you've
in
met,
team fights.
last time, I think.
We did. Yeah.
Who worked super hard on this to normalize the animations and to rework them so that they all were the same, whether you're
We're not an
moving
external
left,
pressure,
right, or front,
but
or
it doesn't
whatever,
matter.
and
Like,
it allowed
I
us to
think
do this in
she
a really,
is
really good way.
so
So
strong
Shaman
in
is now-
1v1.
should now at least be a lot
She
more
is super
viable
strong in 1v1. You
in
can't change my
fours,
mind.
Where she doesn't
Um,
have the most massive reach. Her weapons are not the biggest weapons in the
she's
game.
strong in
but she
1v1s,
actually
but she
is able
can
to work
she
with
can
it.
handle,
There's a lot of that
like
things
kind of
those things
handle
that kinda
herself
help
now
into what she can do
in
that
team
she couldn't
fights.
do before. I'm hoping it'll help Shaman go up a little bit in the ranks. Like she's been
But
bottom tier for
this
a
is what I
while.
mean
It's
with
been
my
really
last
difficult. Her
video where I
ganking,
just point out some
while it
stuff
was, like,
that are
top tier for
no-brainer
a while,
changes,
the issue
and
that's
this
kept up over
change
time
is
that
a
it takes
no-brainer
too
change
long.
because
It's sucked up by
every
the time.
hero,
Coupled
no
with
exceptions,
the
guys,
difficulty
every
that she has in,
hero
like, participating in
needs
group
an
fights
accurate
made her
hitbox.
really lackluster. So with this change, at least
But
we're addressing one part
It's
of the problem.
interesting to hear
and trying to
JC's
figure out,
explanation why
can
the
we make
hitbox
Shaman
is so
better and Can we
wanky.
make her better in group fights? So super happy to have
Because
this in.
Yeah.
the
I know
animation
at least one person
team,
that's also been bugging me about that.
it makes
Probably
sense.
was
She
happy
has
right
two
now.
different
Yeah,
weapons
that's
in
great.
hands.
But really,
Alright.
it's a big quality of life change for Shaman.
And that's
It might
why,
not be
from an
super
artistic
obvious,
standpoint,
but when you
yeah,
start
it looks
testing it
better
out
when
and you go side
she
heavies and you start to hit
moves
the
like
front right,
that, on the right direction,
And I also want
on
to
the left
just kind of
direction,
say on
blah
that
blah
too, there's a
blah.
lot of
That's
animation
why
work
the
from,
hitbox is
not
so
well, but the
awkward.
tack-on effect of that too is we had to redo like all the VFX trails on that. too.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
just
yeah.
also wanted to give a
Yeah.